night of February 15th, 2020, was supposed to be like any other. But for Amie Harwick, a respected family therapist and beloved public figure, it was the night that would shatter everything she had worked for and everything she had built. It was a Valentine's Day weekend filled with laughter, love, and friends. Amie had spent the evening with those who cared for her, celebrating life. But as the clock ticked past midnight, her life would take a violent turn that no one could have predicted. Amie had just come home from a fun night out with friends. The music from the club still rang in her ears, the laughter of her friends still echoing in her mind. She felt a warm sense of belonging, an evening well spent. Little did she know, as she made her way up the steps of her Hollywood Hills home, someone was already waiting for her, hidden in the shadows of her own bedroom. Her roommate, Michael Herman, was asleep downstairs, unaware of the terror that was about to unfold. Around 1 a.m., he was jolted awake by an ear-piercing scream. It was Amie, the kind of scream that would haunt anyone's nightmares. He rushed out of his room, heart racing. But when he opened the door, all he heard was the sound of glass shattering, a window breaking. At first, Michael thought it was just Amie being careless, maybe knocking something over in her room. But then the truth hit him like a slap to the face. Amie's screams, followed by the sickening sound of her being thrown out of a window, rang through the night air. Michael didn't hesitate. He ran outside, his heart pounding, desperate to help her. His hands scraped against the wrought iron fence as he jumped over it. Blood smeared on his palms, but he didn't stop. He ran to the neighbor's house and begged them to call 911. When the first officers arrived at the scene, they found Michael frantic, shaking, and covered in blood. The blood wasn't his own. The sight of him, anxious, jittery, his hands stained, immediately raised suspicions. Was he the one who had done this? Had he been involved in the attack? The officers rushed to the backyard. There, lying in a pool of blood, was Amie Harwick. Barely breathing, her body crumpled against the cold ground. The paramedics worked quickly, trying to revive her, but the odds were stacked against them. Her pulse was faint and the blood loss was severe. Meanwhile, Michael was taken in for questioning. He was terrified, yes, but was he guilty? Did he know more than he was letting on? As detectives pieced together the crime scene, they noticed something strange. The French doors to the front yard were shattered, and the inside of the house was nearly untouched. No valuables were missing, nothing was stolen. In fact, Amie's wallet, cash, and personal belongings remained where they should be. So what had happened here? Detectives combed through Amie's home. As they moved upstairs to her bedroom, something caught their attention. Black beads were scattered across the floor, leading from the bedroom to the open balcony doors. It was clear that Amie hadn't just fallen. Someone had violently pushed her out. Her room was in complete disarray. Clothes were thrown around, and the comforter had been hastily pulled back. Whoever did this had been looking for something, or maybe they were just making a statement. But what? The officers turned back to Michael. He was still nervous, his answers still suspicious. The blood on his hands made him a prime suspect, but there was one thing that kept them from making a definitive conclusion. Michael's story matched up with the timeline. According to Michael, he had spent the evening alone. He had gone to bed early, only to be woken up around 1 a.m. by the sound of glass breaking. The next thing he heard was Amie's scream. He ran outside and did everything he could to help. But something was off. His injuries, scratches, scrapes, seemed to tell a different story. Could those marks have come from a violent struggle with Amie? Was he covering up something? Was Michael the innocent man he claimed to be? Or was he hiding something darker? Detectives were stuck. All the evidence seemed to point to Michael, yet something didn't sit right. Amie, after all, had no known enemies. She was well-liked, respected in her community, a therapist who spent her life helping others. Who would want to harm her? The case took a sudden twist when Amie's neighbor came forward with crucial video footage. There, in the grainy footage, was a figure running frantically, knocking on doors, desperately seeking help. The timestamp matched Michael's 911 call, and for a moment, it seemed like Michael's version of events was true. But the neighbor's second camera captured something even more disturbing. A man in a baseball cap and gloves, sneaking onto Amie's property hours earlier. His face was unclear, but it was obvious that he was trying to cover his tracks. And this man, this unknown figure, wasn't Michael. The footage showed that the man had been on Amie's property before the attack. But who was he? The mystery deepened. Could he have been the one responsible for Amie's torment over the years? The police broadened their search and learned more about Amie's past. She had been the victim of a relentless stalker, someone who had been harassing her for years. There were several incidents where her home had been broken into, but nothing had been stolen. It was as if someone was trying to scare her, to break her. And then, in a shocking twist, Amie's best friend, Robert Koshland, revealed a chilling detail. Amie had once told him that if anything ever happened to her, it would be because of Gareth Pursehouse, her ex-boyfriend. The man who had been obsessed with her for years. The man who had been the source of all her nightmares. Gareth Pursehouse had been Amie's boyfriend years before the attack, but their relationship had quickly turned toxic. He was controlling, jealous, and, after an argument in 2011, he had become violent. Amie had called 911 that night, and their relationship ended immediately. But even after the breakup, Gareth didn't let go. He stalked Amie, harassing her online and even showing up at her home late at night. The police had granted Amie a restraining order, but Gareth had continued to find ways to invade her life. He would break into her home, stealing personal items, leaving signs that he was watching her every move. Then, in February 2020, just hours before Amie's death, Gareth was caught on a neighbor's security camera. He was the man who had broken into her home, who had thrown her out of the window. The evidence was damning. With all the evidence, video footage, DNA, and the testimony from Amie's best friend, police were able to identify Gareth as the killer. On February 15, 2020, they arrested him just as he was attempting to leave his apartment. But the twists didn't end there. When they questioned Gareth, his demeanor changed. He refused to answer any questions about the death of his ex-girlfriend. His silence spoke volumes. And then the court trial began. Amie's family and friends stepped forward, determined to see justice done for the woman they had lost. They spoke about the woman Amie was the kind, loving therapist who dedicated her life to helping others. During the trial, Amie's letter, a letter she had written just 30 days before her death, was read aloud. In it, she spoke of Gareth's harassment, his obsession, and the constant fear she had lived with for years. Her voice rang through the courtroom, even though she was no longer there to speak it herself. The jury found Gareth Pursehouse guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. But even with the conviction, the haunting question remains, what could have been done to stop this earlier? Why did it take so long for justice to be served? Amie's story doesn't end here. Her legacy lives on through her friends, her family, and the women she helped. Her death has sparked a conversation about domestic violence, stalking, and the need for stronger protections for victims. But the real question still lingers. How many more lives will be shattered before we start paying attention? As the trial concludes and Gareth is locked away, another piece of evidence comes to light. Hidden deep in the recesses of Amie's phone is a disturbing message. A message sent just hours before her death. It's from someone else. Someone Amie had never told anyone about. The message is chilling. Who could it be? And what did they know about her final moments? Stay tuned to discover the identity of the new suspect and what this means for Amie's case.